another do-or-die game for the Leafs, but this time they'll have the hometown crowd cheering them on.
We were overdue to have a real solid 60-minute effort here on home ice.
Our mindset in the locker room is it's all business, and we know what we need to do.
Puck drop is in just over an hour. We'll have a live report from outside Scotiabank Arena. And
they leave the park. Are they going to be potentially driving impaired?
Most people don't take their kids and their toys and go to a park and then get drunk and drive off.
it's become an annual debate as the city once again looks at whether to allow booze in parks. Plus, police won't be laying charges after allegations of anti-black racism at a Toronto school. Good evening. Hope is still alive for Leaf fans. The team is back on home ice tonight for Game 5 of their series with the Florida Panthers. It is another win or go home game for the Leafs, who still trail 3-1 in the series. Our Greg Ross once again joins us live from Maple Leaf Square tonight, where fans have gathered to watch the game. Greg, just a couple of days ago, it seemed like all hope was lost for the Leafs after losing the first 3 games of this series. Is it fair to say that confidence is restored?
I'm definitely feeling the confidence in the city, especially when you look around and you just see blue jerseys everywhere. These fans are excited, and I'll tell you something else. The Leafs have their good luck charm here tonight. This is 4-year-old Matthew, who was here for his first game on Wednesday, and the Leafs won that game. This is your second game. Are they going to win again tonight?
Yeah.
He says yes. He's the good luck charm. That's Matthew's dad. So now you're feeling a little more confident because Matthew's here tonight.
Obviously. I mean, we won last game, so there's no reason we can't win today.
All right. That was his first game in the square, too. Yeah. But he's the good luck charm over here. Matthew's got his hand. We've got some special costumes over here. We've got these young women here. They've got their bed sheets on. Whose bed sheets are these?
My parents. I took them off their bed. It's okay, though. It's okay. You got to do what you got to do for the Leafs.
You literally just took them right off the parents' bed.
Yeah, I did.
And your parents think of that?
I showed them a picture after. They had to cheer for it. They had to cheer for it.
Waited till after to show them the picture. No, they didn't ask permission beforehand, but they got the bed sheets on with the logos on there. They're going to be wearing those tonight here in the square. The Leafs, they got the job done in Florida on Wednesday. Now they're back home. They'll have the crowd on their side. Different building, but the Leafs are looking for the same result in Game 5 tonight.
Forsling able to hand it back to the goaltender. Scores! With their backs up against the wall, the Leafs came up with maybe their best performance of the playoffs in Game 4.
I think it was just a complete game from us. I think every period we got better, and we're going to need that again to share.
Forward Noel Achari says the approach for Game 5 is the same.
Our mindset in the locker room is it's all business, and we know what we need to do.
But the Leafs will need to find a way to do it on home ice, where they have just 1 win in the playoffs this year in 5 games at Scotiabank Arena. Coach Sheldon Keefe says their record at home doesn't tell the whole story.
We've had a mixed bag here at home ice. We've had probably 2 of the best games we've played of the playoffs here in this building. Game 2 in both series, I thought, were really good. Obviously, we didn't get on the right side of the game in Game 2 here against Florida.
For the second straight game, Joseph Wall will get the start in net for the Leafs, replacing the injured Ilya Samsonov. Wall stopped 24 of 25 shots in Game 4, but Panthers coach Paul Maurice says he was never truly tested in that game.
Good on him. Young man came in a very intense situation and looked calm in the net. We felt we helped that happen. We were perimeter, we were almost 5 minutes off our offensive zone time from the game prior. So that's something that we feel we can remedy.
All right, getting the crowd riled up here. Joseph Wall, as we said, in between the pipes. Paul Maurice says they think they can remedy him in net. Are you worried about having the backup goaltender there again tonight?
I can't hear you say,
Joseph Wall in the net for the Leafs again tonight. Are you worried about having the backup goaltender in there?
Oh, absolutely not. I love Joseph Wall in net. The guy's a stud. He looked great in the regular season. I think he was 7-1 with a .916 save percentage. I think he's solid. He scores pucks, man. He's going to be good.
He's going to be good. He's going to be between the pipes again for the Leafs. Good news for the Leafs this morning in the morning skate. Ilya Samsonov and Matthew Nyes were on the ice and took part in that practice. Not ready to go tonight, but looking like they're making progress, Mayoral.
Well, I'm with 4-year-old Matthew's quiet confidence there, Greg. We'll check back in with you later. Thanks. We're doing our part. We're doing our part, Colette.
Yes, we are. Here we are, the girls in blue.
Wearing the colors. Yep.
That's right. Yeah, I'm starting to get a little bit of those butterflies in my stomach. I don't know why.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, we don't have to be on the ice. Anyway, for those that are down there, I mean, you could tell, I don't think they really care about the weather, but you could tell just how lovely it is. I know we've had some increasing cloudiness, but we're actually going to find that kind of breaking up and moving out into the evening hours. So we get into some clearing conditions. The hot spot in Ontario today, how about Hamilton and Toronto at Pearson Airport, 28.3, and we're at 27. Now we'll come down to 26 here in the next hour, 24 degrees, and then 21. The winds are a little bit breezy at the moment, but when you're in that square like that, protected between the buildings there on Bremner, you really don't feel it. But there is a bit of a breeze here. The current temperatures all around, Hamilton's come down to 25 here, St. Catharines at 26, Oshawa, Markham, the same, and Kitchener too, all in there. Just such a nice evening. And oh, it's Friday, so that's kind of nice too, right? There's a look at those winds. We have that southwesterly flow, and what's happening, the principal change is that we get into a more northerly flow, not just tonight, but into tomorrow, and that's going to hold the temperatures down just a little bit. They're still way above seasonal. A seasonal daytime high at this time of year is about 18, and I told you where we were today, so 10 degrees above seasonal. As we go into tomorrow, it just cools down a little. I'll show you that in just a moment, but first I want to bring your attention to what's happening here. You see that cloud deck? A lot of it is some of that higher cloud, and we'll have a bit of that into tomorrow. You also see probably there a few sprinkles trying to make their way in. The atmosphere is pretty dry. A lot of this drying up before it even reaches the ground, and what's trying to push into southwestern Ontario is going to get knocked back too by a ridge of high pressure, so they get some cloud and a few sprinkles, and maybe that's about it. Overnight tonight, 15 degrees. Look at how early the sun is up, and there it is tomorrow. Just a little cooler, Mayoral, a high of 24.
That's all right. Glorious day, and looks like tomorrow too.
Yeah, and we'll have the Mother's Day forecast coming up.
Okay, we'll see you in a bit. Thanks, Colette. Well, today was the last day to register as a candidate in Toronto's mayoral by-election. A number of people were at City Hall adding their name to the list, and we asked them why they want to run.
Because I thought, hey, this is kind of like a bucket list thing, and the process is kind of too simple.
I just think that everything's going in the wrong direction here. Things are going downhill, and people are not happy, and we gotta have brave leadership.
With nominations now officially closed, there are 102 candidates running to be mayor. That's more than triple the number who ran for the job just last year. The by-election happens June 26th.
I'm the stand-in name for Molly. Molly's running for mayor, but we have certain rules and regulations that only allow humans on the ballot. And so I'm going to be her campaign manager, and I'll make sure that her pledges are honored. She's also feels quite strongly about honesty in politics. So if anybody, she wants to change the law so any mayor who doesn't keep their promises, words have to matter, and they have to pick up poo for an entire year, including hers.
Yep, there is a dog running to be mayor. Molly and her owner just getting in under the wire to register for the race. Part of Molly's platform is getting the city to stop using salt on roads and sidewalks in the winter because, of course, it stings the paws. City parks are bustling with people out enjoying today's weather, and while some may have brought along a little bottle of wine or beer, drinking is technically off limits in parks. The issue, though, was on the agenda once again at City Hall today. Ali Chiasson tells us what happened.
And they're alcohol now.
Today, councillors are making a decision on a hot summertime topic, drinking in parks. Councillor Josh Matlow has moved a motion to allow drinking in parks citywide. Councillor Shelley Carroll would rather an opt-in approach, where councillors can agree to allow drinking in certain parks if, after public consultation, it makes sense for that neighborhood.
We want to have a birthday party, and the parents are going to have their own special cooler for the parents. So we're going to serve alcohol at this little party. They simply get on their phone and look up which is the park I want to have that party at.
Meanwhile, councillor and mayoral candidate Josh Matlow fielded questions from councillors who worry about potential ramifications.
When they leave the park, are they going to
Okay.
be potentially driving impaired?
But you're talking about behavior, right? Like most people don't take their kids and their toys and go to a park and then get drunk and drive off. I mean, so.
This is a serious issue.
Councillor Gord Perks is fine with drinking in parks, but says there are other considerations too.
We should be solving how alcohol is used in our parks. That's what we should be doing. And that involves making better investments in treatment programs and all the other harm reduction measures.
Can we put more resources into that? Yes, of course we can. But does alcoholism increase because people are allowed to enjoy alcohol in a park? That hasn't been the evidence in the cities that have been doing this for a number of years now.
The dogged journalist that I am, I had to ask the latest mayoral candidate her stance on the issue.
She's all in favor of drinking in parks. Right now she's quite thirsty. We're going to have to go back to her campaign headquarters to get her a drink after this.
In the end, Councillor Carroll's motion prevailed.
The item is amended carries. The vote is 19-5.
A report will come back in July. Councillors will opt in or not to allow park booze. And depending on where you live, you may be able to legally crack a cold one by the end of the summer. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Premier Doug Ford was once again asked about the race and the nominees today. He said he could work with any mayor, but then got specific.
We need someone that has experience dealing with crime. I believe we need someone that has actually run an operation with a number of employees that has the experience. We need someone in Toronto that knows all of Toronto, not a little ward that they've been representing, but all of Toronto.
Brad Bradford, Mitzi Hunter, and Anna Byelaw were asked about the Premier's comments. They said while they agree those are important issues for Toronto, the person the Premier has in mind is not fit to run the city. So now that the field is set for the mayoral race, what can we expect from the candidates and their campaigns? I caught up with our municipal affairs reporter Sean Jeffords at City Hall to find out. And we started by talking about just the sheer number of people running for the city's top job.
I mean, we now have over 90 candidates in this race, and
it's a mind-blowing number.
It is. It's a record. It is by far a record. City staff have said this is the most. These are the most candidates we've ever had in a mayoral contest. So, you know, the ballot is going to be huge. Just physically, people are going to go to the ballot box. They're going to go to their polling station on the 26th, and they're going to get handed, I would assume, what would be a multi-page ballot. And you're going to have to search down that list for your candidate. So there's that practical implication. But more than that, we're really going to see the campaign take shape. You know, when people drop out at this point, their name will still be on the ballot. But I think you're going to see a greater focus on a core group of candidates who I think legitimately have a chance to win, you know, more so than perhaps people who don't have the same level of name recognition or fundraising capacity, or the machine, the team of volunteers and seasoned campaign strategists behind them who know how to run a campaign.
Are we in a position to name who the front runners are or who the contenders are at this stage?
I think we can make some pretty solid statements about who those candidates are. And you know, we can use some polling that's been done. There have been a number of polls that would indicate we have a field of about 6 candidates who are, by and large, the top tier. So I'm talking about Brad Bradford, I'm talking about Anna Byelaw, Mitzi Hunter, Mark Saunders, Josh Matlow, and Olivia Chow. And those—
okay, that's 6.
That's
half
6.
a dozen serious contenders.
That's right, and there are still a couple others who I think you could give some serious attention to, but those are the folks who seem to have risen above the rest in the polling. And I should say, polling, you always have to be careful. You have to take it with a bit of a grain of salt because it's a snapshot in time. And those things can change as people begin to focus more on the race, as they begin to look at the candidates and really scrutinize them. But I would say that there's one theme in all of these polls that we've seen thus far, and it's that Olivia Chow is the front runner, and she's out by quite a margin at this point. So it's something to really watch right now.
With weeks to go of campaigning still, and now that we know essentially the people whose names will be on the ballot, how do you expect the campaigning to shift?
We're really going to see that focus on those those top tier candidates, and I think they're going to start to compete in debates. They're going to start to really get out there and really try to get attention, really try to get their positions out in front of the public, and you're also going to see them cross-examined a great deal by media, I think more, but also by the other candidates in those debates. They're going to have an opportunity to really pull apart their policies, their records. Many of them have records in public office, and you're going to see a greater level of scrutiny and I think criticism on their policies than we've seen up to this point in the campaign.
There was a lot going on at City Hall this week, big council meetings and debates. And those councillors have an opportunity, obviously, to speak, not as candidates, but as councillors, to all of the issues going on at City Hall. So the question is, how much of a platform is this giving to these candidates who have a microphone right now that maybe the other candidates don't?
It certainly came up this week at City Council. I mean, we have three sitting councillors who are running for mayor. We have Anthony Peruzza, we have Josh Matlow, and we have Brad Bradford. And you're seeing it to varying degrees, and it's probably always this way. But the difference in this campaign is that the City Hall apparatus, City Council has not shifted into caretaker mode like it normally does during a municipal campaign. This is an unexpected race. So the gears of City Hall are still spinning really aggressively, and they're meeting. Councillors are getting up, and you've got the mayoral candidates getting up with them, and they are talking about policy. They're talking about, somewhat cleverly in some cases, their agendas. And you're getting a little bit of sloganeering on the council floor. And it's kind of come to the point where Frances Nunziata, who's the speaker, who's in charge of keeping things on track, she's getting a bit frustrated with it, and you can see it. Anthony Peruzza got up, and he was really frustrated that one of the meetings was being extended. It was going to bite into a bit of a debate that was scheduled for this week. And she really laid it on the line in a really clear way and said, look, you've got a job to do here, and if you don't think you can do it, perhaps you should take a leave of absence. There was a lot of tension at this meeting, I would say, about that.
Issues that are going to ramp up even more than they have in the coming weeks.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Mayoral.
And Toronto City Council has declared homelessness an emergency and will change the criteria so that warming centres are open for more days in the winter. Council voted to open warming centres when the temperature hits -5 or when Environment Canada issues various winter weather warnings. Previously, warming centres opened when the temperature hit -15. The city says it needs financial support from other levels of government to make the change happen. As for declaring a homelessness emergency, the city admits the move is largely symbolic and it does not trigger additional money to solve the problem. Police have closed an investigation into forcible confinement allegations at a Toronto public school. This past March, officers were alerted by a parent of a 6-year-old who alleged the boy was subjected to dozens of incidents of anti-Black racism. Meg Roberts has the story.
After a 2-month investigation into alleged forcible confinement of a 6-year-old here at John Fisher Junior Public School, the Toronto Police Service says it has found no evidence to support laying charges. The police probe looked into specific allegations that the boy had been isolated in a closet-sized room in an administrator's office as punishment, and that hateful messages had been written on his desk. His mother saying this back in March.
He said so many disrespectful things, including saying that, my 6-year-old was obnoxious and unpleasant to be around.
The mother, who CBC only named by first name, says she was hearing about racism allegations from her son for months and turned to the Parents of Black Children group. The group and the mother would not do an interview with CBC Toronto. In a statement, it said it's profoundly disappointed in the inadequate investigation conducted by Toronto Police Services. It said the fact that the justice system has not caught up to addressing very real instances of inhumane treatment anchored in anti-Black racism in no way invalidates the experience of the child and family involved. 2 administrators and a teacher at the school were placed on leave. The school board says they will not be brought back into the classroom until the TDSB has a chance to conclude its own investigation, which will start after the Children's Aid Society finishes theirs. The school board says it recognizes this has been difficult on parents, students, and staff. The lawyer of the school's principal says her client was shocked by the allegations, saying, "My client has dedicated her life to service through public education. While we knew she would be fully vindicated, the John Fisher community still has a great deal of work to do to recover from these difficult events." The lawyer believes it was an extensive investigation, with police conducting more than dozens of interviews with people while also consulting with the Child and Youth Advocacy Center and the service's hate crime unit. The investigation was also reviewed by the Attorney General's Hate Crime Working Group. Meg Roberts, CBC News, Toronto.
Video has surfaced of a man who was beaten outside an East End mosque this week. This afternoon, the imam at the Baitul Aman Mosque spoke about the victim, and a warning: some of the images you are about to see are disturbing.
He is a very innocent and kind person. He's well known in the community. So we really, the upset, and whole community is really shocked.
The man who was attacked is a 67-year-old member of the mosque. He was walking through the parking lot Wednesday evening when he was approached by two suspects. The victim was hit repeatedly, possibly with a bat. He's now recovering from his injuries. Police say after speaking with the victim, they don't believe the incident was hate-motivated. The imam says the community wants to see arrests made as soon as possible. He says the mosque has previously been hit by break-ins, which were reported to police. However, he says nothing was done. He's calling on the city to provide the mosque with better security. Toronto police say they are continuing their investigation. A victim has been identified in a condo shooting in Etobicoke earlier this week. 23-year-old Violetta Lukoshka is the city's 17th homicide victim. On Wednesday, police responded to reports of a violent interaction and a loud bang in a condo at Manitoba and Legion. Security guards tried to save the victim, but she died from her injuries. 34-year-old Kadim Johnson has been arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Long-term care homes are calling for an immediate solution to the high cost of agency nurses. With a shortage of full-time nurses, private agencies are providing more and more help. It's been 2 months since the province started looking into the issue, but as Lorenda Redekop reports, it's unclear when any new guidelines could come.
This rural not-for-profit home near Algonquin Provincial Park has always needed extra fill-in agency nurses, often from Toronto or Ottawa. But ever since the pandemic hit, that more than doubled.
This is not sustainable for us to keep going like this.
She says the cost is now around $1 million a year, and she's losing staff, with agencies advertising in the local papers, hiring them as temps at other homes.
It becomes a full-time job just trying to keep enough staff in the nursing department.
We need immediate action.
Lisa Levin provided a submission to the government for its review of agency nursing. She believes agencies are needed, but wants them regulated.
We need to stop agencies that are price gouging from doing that.
She represents nonprofit and municipal homes and says many are struggling, but she's also worried about the rest of the healthcare system.
If staffing temporary agencies are only regulated in long-term care, then they will turn their business to the rest of the healthcare sector, and then we'll be in even worse shape.
However, this review is under the long-term care ministry. It confirms it's only looking at the impact on the long-term care sector. But some hospitals say their costs have ballooned due to agency nurses.
If we're not solving or looking at retention strategies for staff nurses, it's just a waste of time.
This agency nurse works in hospital ICUs and started around 6 years ago. She says no staff jobs offered the flexibility she needed.
It was out of necessity because at that time, as a sole support mother, there was absolutely no way for me to schedule my shifts and also cater for my daughter.
She says while she does make more an hour, it's not a perfect situation.
There are no paid sick days. There are absolutely no benefits. If you get injured, you're on your own.
The nurses' union supports getting rid of agency nursing altogether, something Quebec is promising to do. But what would that mean with no agencies?
You create your own. Why wouldn't a province have its own flexible, casual workforce working under the collective agreement?
The province hasn't said when its review will be finished. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Some GO bus passengers may notice things are a little quieter on their next trip.
Today, we're so pleased to announce the launch of 2 new fully electric GO buses. Starting next week, commuters on select GO bus routes, including right here in Oshawa, will have the opportunity to travel on these zero-emission vehicles.
Metrolinx says each bus costs $1.5 million, double the price of a diesel bus. But the operating costs of the electric vehicles are about a third the diesel costs. Testing on the buses has shown they can travel about 225 kilometers in colder temperatures and about 300 kilometers in warmer temperatures without needing a charge. A nonprofit group in Kensington Market is trying to purchase 2 properties in the neighborhood to keep rents affordable for current tenants. But as Clara Pasica reports, they need to fundraise a lot of money fast to make it happen.
Morning.
Vintage clothing and produce store displays spill out onto the streets of colorful Kensington Market. It's that unique vibe a group of community members are trying to preserve. The Kensington Market Community Land Trust is trying to purchase these 2 properties. The nonprofit made a $4 million offer for the community to take control of the land in an effort to keep rents affordable and avoid a rent eviction of existing tenants.
There's been a regular trend of landlords and developers buying up these properties that have traditionally been affordable housing and turning them into what we call ghost hotels. They become apartments that are rented out on Airbnb on a short-term basis.
The Land Trust plan is to keep rents as low as possible, so people who have lived here for years don't end up needing to leave the neighborhood.
We're not trying to extract wealth from the community or from these properties. We're trying to make sure that people have security of tenure and affordability where they live and work.
The Land Trust says it may add units to the property by building a laneway house or an extension to the buildings.
It is possible to do development and evolve a neighborhood without displacement, but first you have to protect the existing tenants and existing small businesses and their leases.
The Land Trust's offer has been accepted conditionally, but the organization now needs to fundraise about $3 million in a month from donors, organizations, the city, and other levels of government. If that doesn't happen,
it would just mean that we would lose these properties. That's the threat. We don't want to lose this opportunity. It feels like a once-in-a-generation opportunity.
The organization has done it once before, purchasing this building behind me a few years ago. Tenants we spoke to say that move has made all the difference.
It's nice to know that, my home is going to be affordable for, foreseeably the rest of my life.
Last time around, the city injected $3 million. The organization is hoping the city will invest in this affordable housing project too. When asked to comment on support for this project, the city's housing secretariat did not address the project directly, but told CBC the city's multi-unit residential acquisition program, which supports projects like this, has a deadline in a couple of weeks' time. Clara Pasica, CBC News, Toronto.
A man is dead after a stabbing at Yonge Dundas Square this afternoon. It happened at Victoria and Dundas just before 2 p.m. The man was transported to a trauma center with life-threatening injuries, where he was later pronounced dead. Police say they've received varying descriptions of the possible suspect. The investigation is ongoing. The small Ontario community of Bourget, east of Ottawa, is trying to come to grips with the death of Provincial Police Officer Eric Mueller. Police say he and 2 other OPP officers were shot by a man while responding to a disturbance call yesterday. The 2 fellow officers with him were wounded. As Natalia Goodwin reports, we're learning new details about the altercation, the officers, and the suspect.
Flags flying at half-mast, the streets in this village are mostly quiet, with few people wanting to go outside or talk about what happened yesterday. The scene of the crime remains blocked off.
Well, it's pretty sad, isn't it? Didn't really think it would happen around here, but it did.
C'est dommage. C'est dommage.
It's a shame, this man said in French, a feeling shared by many across eastern Ontario today.
We were really devastated from hearing the news, saddened by the cause, because they just got 2 young kids and just a year-old one, and his mom is another gem.
Just 25 minutes south of Bourget, a book of condolences has been set up in this pharmacy for Sergeant Eric Mueller. A first chance for friends, family, and members of the public to lay flowers and express their sorrow.
The OPP here supports everyone in the community, so why can't we support him? And everybody wants to come down.
Sergeant Mueller was a veteran OPP officer, killed in the line of duty in what the force has called an ambush. The incident also injured 2 other officers, Marc Lazon and Francois Gamesh Aslan. The man accused of shooting the officers, 39-year-old Alain Belfoy, remains in custody. He's charged with first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. One of his neighbors says the suspect had a dog, practiced shooting his gun, but kept mostly to himself. She believes Belfoy was involved in crime. The CBC has agreed not to identify her because she worries about her safety.
It's pretty crazy, especially because we have a little one now. And yeah, it makes me just want to move. Such a small town, you don't think anything like that'll happen here.
CBC was able to find 3 prior convictions, theft of $5,000 or less in 2009 and 2 traffic violations in 2019. But few details, like any alleged motive or why a disturbance 911 call turned deadly. There are still many questions hanging in the air here in Bourget, with people wondering how and why this might have happened. Some answers may come as the case makes its way through the justice system. Belfoy is due back in court on May 18th. Natalia Goodwin, CBC News, Bourget, Ontario.
There are 74 active wildfires in Alberta today, and 20 are burning out of control. 16,000 people are currently out of their homes. Hundreds of Canadian Armed Forces personnel are on the ground assisting, with more on the way. Julia Wong is near Drayton Valley, Alberta, where a fire is still raging out of control.
It will be at least another week before residents from Drayton Valley and Brazeau County will be allowed to go home. More than 7,000 residents were forced from their homes late last week after a wildfire started burning nearby. At least 4 homes were destroyed. One man says he saw chunks of ash falling from the sky, describing it as like walking through hell. Now, since that time, some residents have been staying in RVs and trailers, waiting things out. One evacuee is living in a tent with her cat, saying she wanted to have her own little space instead of living in a hotel or with family. She says she wasn't really a camper before, but she's making do. And there are a range of emotions to the news that may be some time before people can go home.
I just needed a space to land, so a place to call home. This is home now, right? So we make a new home, a temporary home, and everybody's in the same boat.
It doesn't compute, and that's why so many people are frustrated. They're not giving useful information. Where is the fire? Why is it still a hazard to town? We get you consider it out of control, but what is making it out of control so that the layman can understand it? We're not in their meeting rooms. We don't see their maps. We don't see their meetings that they have. They need to get those meetings out to us somehow to make us feel better about sitting in parking lots with our crippled family, just trying to live. Sucks.
The town and county say they want to get services like hospitals, grocery stores, and pharmacies back up and running before evacuees return. They also say the fire situation is volatile and the weather this weekend will not be helping with that. The forecast shows gusty conditions and temperatures in their 30s, which are 10 to 15 degrees above seasonal. That means the fire around Drayton Valley and the other fires around the province could flare up again. Julia Wong, CBC News, near Drayton Valley, Alberta.
So the temperatures, Colette, out there, the winds as well, also going to be big factors this coming weekend for them.
Yeah, this is that pattern coming, Mayoral, that we've been talking about for the last few days. A ridge building into Western Canada, kind of like the ridge we have over us in Ontario. So where's the rainfall? How about southeastern Saskatchewan and Manitoba, and where we even had some of that convective stuff and the widely spread little light showers, even that's been dissipating. You're seeing that in Alberta and BC as well as that ridge kind of sets up. It's an upper high and it gets stronger. We're seeing at least fewer lightning strikes. That's about the only positive thing I could say there, because those winds also become a concern. And just looking at the temperature trend here over the next few days through the weekend, certainly some upper 20s, and then it kind of peaks as we get towards Monday, and we'll likely see, and this is an issue into BC as well, some of those low 30s, and there are areas where it's going to be pushing towards some mid 30s in there too. Kind of by Tuesday, the pattern looks like it'll start to change and then be dropping off. And our pattern, I mentioned the ridge of high pressure that's been keeping us generally dry. The radar showing some rain, much of this in the upper atmosphere really drying up before it even reaches the ground, but Windsor's had a few showers being reported there. The temperatures then have come down in that region. And if you're wondering about the humidity humidity, well, we haven't had much. Have you noticed? Like if I put the Humidex values on here, Hamilton jumped up 1, but where it did jump up was down here in southwestern Ontario, where that moisture is there, at least in the upper atmosphere, and a little bit more of a cloud deck there. Some high thin clouds coming back at us after clearing tonight through the Golden Horseshoe, and they'll be there into southwestern Ontario. And then for Sunday, for Mother's Day, again, looks like we'll have quite a bit of sunshine and some high thin cloud moves in, but dry conditions. Just the change of the direction of the winds, that northerly flow will keep the temperatures a little cooler. Through the evening, plenty of mild air to go around. If you're up early on a Saturday, well, around 6 a.m. we hit our low of 15, but if you get up around 8, well, it's already going to have jumped to 17, and the high tomorrow, there's our slightly cooler high, Mayoral, 24 instead of the 28 we had today.
That's still okay. We'll take that.
Yes, still well above seasonal.
All right. Thanks, Colette. We are just minutes away from puck drop for Game 5, where the Leafs look to continue the momentum from their last win and extend the series. Let's go back to Greg Ross, who's outside Maple Leaf Square. Greg, you've been there for the whole playoff run. Are you sensing a different feeling from the fans tonight?
Well, if the face paint is any indication, look at the confidence level here in Maple Leaf Square. Now, if you've ever seen the episode of Seinfeld where Putty wears the face paint and, cheers on the New Jersey Devils, well, we've got our own face painters here. Impression of... All right, so none of these guys, just full disclosure here, have seen that episode. I had to tell them, I coached them to do that, but we have somebody here who wants to get some face paint, and they, on their way here, made a stop at the dollar store so they could be ready to do some face painting. They're going to do it live on TV for us right now. Anybody who wants to come to the square and get their face painted, they pick this up at the dollar store. It's the real deal. And here we go. I mean, come on. Now, there's a guy over here. All right, so we've got some face paint on here. These guys are obviously excited. That's commitment, Mayoral. These guys are confident. They believe that the Leafs can pull it out here in Game 5 tonight. I want to see if we can get the gentleman back there. Come on, face paint. Come on, do the face paint. Here we go. A little bit. He didn't want to do this. We put him on the spot. I don't know. He did it. Are you feeling confident now?
Now I'm ready to go. Let's go. Let's take it back to Florida.
I think I got some face paint all over my jacket here. I mean, this is commitment. You got to have the... No, I'm good. Face paint. No. I'm okay, guys. Everybody in the square seems to have their face paint, Mayoral. They're committed. They're ready to go. It's Game 5, and puck drop is just minutes away.
You're the only one. We're just waiting for you, Greg. Get that face paint on.
Not gonna happen.
Thanks.
Sorry.
I mean, it might. I'm holding out hope, Colette.
Oh, I got to get them in here to do my makeup, boy.
I don't know about that.
Slap it on there, folks. Hey, I love the enthusiasm, everyone. I had butterflies earlier for our team, and now I'm just feeling excited. And obviously, that's how they're feeling as well. And the forecast down there, clearing conditions, the temperature stays mild well into the evening because the sun's not setting till after 8:30. So they don't have to worry about any of that. Not that they were. And then for tomorrow, because of the direction of the winds, just a little bit cooler than today, 24 for all of our mothers out there, and a happy Mother's Day, whatever form you may come under or your title. Just a little bit cooler, back to seasonal with some high thin cloud.
My sentiments exactly. Thanks a lot, Colette.
You're welcome.
All right, back out to Maple Leaf Square. Let's get this one. Go Leafs, go.